The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
And people can verify this for themselves if they just Google this. All you have to do is look up the terms and see when African American began to be used. As you said, it wasn't even talked about really until the late 60s, 6 or 7 years after Obama was born. Up until that point, Negro and colored were used, and you can find articles, a 1967 Ebony article that talks about black versus African American. You can find a Slate report that talks about the term Negro started its decline in 1966 and was totally uncouth by the mid-1980s. So to put something like that in is another one of these anachronisms, like I said, like the typefaces and the George Bush letter, the superscript TH, things that are modern that they tried to put in a document that would be 40, 50, 60 years old.
Well, that's correct. And, you know, this document, as Mr. Hayes pointed out, is so fatally flawed. You only need one item to put a document into question.
That's right. That's right.
But the biggest problem with this document is you could never take this PDF file, enter it into a courtroom, put it before a judge, and have a judge declare it authentic. It's impossible to do. Hawaii statutes do not provide for them to create a PDF file. It's just something that didn't come out of the state of Hawaii. That turns this into a felony. The production of this document is a felony. The possession of the document is a felony. Proffering it to people for gain is a felony. And gain being the presidential race for 2012, I believe this was released a little bit before. And there's a gain of $450,000 a year to be the president of the United States. So there's a financial aspect, compiled with this. So the document we know is not real. You could not use that document to get a Social Security card. You couldn't use it to get a utility bill. You couldn't bring it into a courtroom. Effectively, the American people have been shown nothing relating to that birth event. And the bigger problem we have is we have no verifiable information of Mr. Obama being in the state of Hawaii before the age of 5 years old. Cannot locate anyone to come forward and say they knew Stanley Ann Dunham is pregnant. They've seen her pregnant. They took her to a hospital. Nothing. We have little instances of people saying afterwards they saw the child, but nothing before 5 years old.
Well, it's not limited just to this. I mean, we see so many things coming from the Obama administration. We see the Benghazi issues. We see the IRS issues. We see so many cases where you've got officials of the Obama administration caught lying under oath. And yet, we can't look at, they're grabbing everyone's phone records at Homeland Security, and yet he's got all of his personal records sealed. His travel records, his early records, his college records, everything is sealed for this president. There's absolutely no transparency for him personally and no transparency for the administration. So given the fact that we've got Fast and Furious, and we've got the IRS scandals, we've got wiretapping scandals that are magnitudes far greater than we saw with Richard Nixon when he was impeached. A lot of the same issues that Richard Nixon had. We've got illegal wars, undeclared wars. We've got, beyond that, we've got assassination drone lists that he's doing. What is the chance of any of this stuff coming together, and how does your investigation wrap up and play into this? Do you think you have a better chance of exposing his criminal actions in the birth certificate forgery than we have in some of these other scandals?
Well, I think these other scandals, obviously, in severity outweigh the production of a document. However, if Congress had done their job as early as the complaints were coming in, and by the way, Alex Jones was the first video I ever saw in this document when I was assigned this case. I did a little, cruising around the internet and saw Alex taking it apart. If that was paid mind to then, maybe these other instances of outrageous violations against American people would never have happened.
Absolutely.
Now, we are trying, Sheriff Arpaio has maintained that this really needs to get the attention of Congress. I agree with him wholeheartedly, and we are proceeding in that venue. We do have indication that Congressman Steve Stockman from Texas is very interested, and we are trying to coordinate a meeting where I could fully debrief Mr. Stockman as to what has been going on here.
Great, great. If we go back and we look at the Nixon impeachment, It wasn't a single thing. It was an overreaching pattern of behavior. And that's what we see with the Obama administration, too. You know, we see not only the wiretapping and the FBI coming after people, illegal wars, the IRS used as a weapon against political enemies. We also see the same types of things in terms of lying and changing documents that we saw under the Nixon administration. So I guess from your perspective then, if we can wrap all these together into multiple sections, that might have some weight. You think that maybe Steve Stockman, maybe some other congressman might be able to have the guts to stand up and do that?
I'm hoping so. I think Steve Stockman has what it takes, and I'm hoping there's going to be others to support him. You know, going forward with this is something that has to be dealt with, though. The American people have a right to know who their president is.
That's right.
We have a background check or an investigation going on that we can't tell you who the man is. I mean, it's the only sitting president I know of that has 4 aliases. You know, 4 AKAs, goes by different names. I can't put him in certain places that he claims to be in his background. He could not pass a background investigation to become a deputy sheriff. He couldn't pass it for our government, to be really candid with you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we learned that the government does not vet a presidential candidate, nor do they vet a president-elect or the sitting president.
Well, it's a pattern of behavior that we see over and over again. Our lives are to be open books to the government, and yet you have a situation like the Bilderberg Convention that they have, meetings that they have, and we're not allowed to know what's being told there. We're not even allowed to know for sure who's there. No notes are taken. No public is allowed anywhere near the place. So we have the people at the very top of the system that maintain that they are to have absolute privacy and secrecy, and we better not look into what they're doing, and yet they expect to have an insight into every aspect of our life. No detail is to be left hidden to them.
Well, you know, it's really good when you put those kind of laws and regulations in place when you're the one administering them and not on the receiving end of them.
That's right.
And, you know, Alex has been talking about this, and, you know, and I have to tell you, I didn't know Alex Jones until this started. And in the very beginning, I would hear some of the things he would say, and he was always saying something. He goes, "Don't believe me, do your own research." Well, I actually took Alex up on a number of those things, and to my amazement, the information that he was talking about, I actually could find.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I mean, he's doing a service, and my hat is off to him. I know he takes a lot of shots, and, you know, I just hope he's real careful. You need to be really careful in this game.
Well, as you know, when you come up with something that the mainstream media is not covering and nobody is talking about it, the first reaction is going to be, "Are you crazy? I don't hear this from anybody else." So just as you're having to carefully document your investigation with all the details and get expert testimony, you have to very carefully document this because you're one of the few people covering it. And we have to do that all the time. If we come out with some news that nobody else is covering, we have to link to the documents. And so, as you said, hopefully people will take a look at this. I'd like for you to send us that document that you referenced earlier, and we'll put that up along with this interview on the website, and people can look at that and investigate it for themselves. But as we said before, certain things like the fact that it's a layered document, the fact that they use a term that would not be used at the time to describe his race, those things are easily verified by people who just do their own Google search. I just typed in when African American became a popular term to be used, and I found multiple documents that would support that from a lot of different sources. So people can do their own investigation on some of these things, and as you pointed out, you don't need to catch but just one mistake like that that's fraudulent in a document to prove that it's false. But you've got a lot of different areas there, so it is riddled with issues. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for talking to us, and certainly hope that you can get some traction on this, that you can get a congressman to stand up and actually file articles of impeachment, because this is a serious issue. It's a serious issue when his administration lies before Congress about what they're doing, but this is also yet another case that should be looked at. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.